Hello, traveler. Let me ask you something, and just answer this for yourself, okay? When was the last time you actually felt something good, felt genuinely happy? If it has been a while since you felt that, maybe today's journey is more important than you realize. And that brings us to today's lesson. I want to talk about 8 signs of depression that almost nobody notices. These are silent signs, hidden behind productivity, behind apparently stable moods, behind a life that from the outside looks completely normal, because depression doesn't always show up as profound sadness or constant crying. Not at all. Often, it hides in the almost, in the automatic, in the I am fine, that someone says with a rehearsed smile, practiced until it looks convincing. So come with me, because maybe you'll recognize yourself in some of these points, and that is okay. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. First of all, you feel like you are achieving things at work, but at the same time it seems like nothing really touches you, nothing satisfies you. This is one of the most dangerous and least talked about signs. A person can get good grades, land promotions, make money, receive recognition, and still feel absolutely nothing. No pride, no joy, none of that good feeling of, I did it, I accomplished something. This state is known as anhedonia, which is a characteristic very present in depressive conditions. It is like the brain's reward system is functioning on silent mode. You act, you do, you produce, but you don't feel rewarded by the good results you achieve. Many people describe this as the sensation of being disconnected from themselves, as if they're just a robot executing tasks day after day, going through the motions, and only you know that you keep working not out of determination or commitment, but out of emotional survival, out of fear of stopping and not being able to start again. A second thought, pattern typical of depressed people is this: something good happens to you, and instead of enjoying the feeling, your brain immediately tries to explain why this good thing doesn't matter. And this behavior is almost automatic, like a reflex you can't control. It is as if the mind takes something good, like a compliment, an achievement, a positive moment, and dismantles it until it turns to dust. If it is a compliment, you think, oh, they're just being polite. If you achieve a victory, you think it was luck. Anyone in my position would have done the same. If someone shows affection toward you, that thought comes immediately. This person doesn't really know me. That is why they treat me well. This is negativity bias, something very common in depression. So if any positive emotion appears in your life, the rational mind immediately tries to diminish the value of that event, to minimize it. And over time, this cycle creates a kind of internal void where nothing seems to be truly meaningful, which drains a person's hope bit by bit. Third sign, let's go. When we think about addiction, what usually comes to mind is alcohol, drugs, or gambling, right? But there is a type of addiction that society actually applauds, addiction to productivity. But the truth is that excessive work, just like excessive exercise or the relentless pursuit of high performance in anything, all of this can be a silent escape. The person can't stand to be still because when they stop, they have to feel, and feeling hurts. Making contact with their own emotions hurts. So they occupy every minute of their time with tasks that from the outside seem admirable. But on the inside, they function as emotional anesthetics, as numbing agents. And what is the problem? The problem is that unlike other addictions, addiction to productivity brings social rewards. People say, what dedication, what focus, what discipline, what a professional. But nobody perceives the internal cost of this. Nobody sees the exhaustion, the emotional escape, the avoidance of looking inward. And the person spends years like this, breaking records on the outside and losing themselves on the inside. This next one is one of the most misunderstood signs. The person can laugh in conversations, can show up at gatherings, can post photos at events, can participate in meetings, and yet they can feel like they're playing a character performing a role. Because they don't create deep emotional bonds, they avoid showing their vulnerabilities. They smile with their face, but not with their heart. And this is a form of subjective loneliness, which is different from being alone. In subjective loneliness, this accompanied loneliness, you can be surrounded by people, but at the same time without real connection, without the sensation of being seen. of being heard, of being understood. And when you start believing you don't belong anywhere, a chronic sensation of emotional isolation is born. Even within groups, relationships, or family environments, you feel fundamentally alone. This next point is very serious. The person really works, dedicates themselves, delivers what is needed, but their motivation doesn't come from the desire to grow. It comes from the fear of being considered useless, disposable, insufficient. It is not ambition, it is self-protection. Psychology calls this controlled motivation because it is driven by shame and self-criticism, by fear rather than by aspiration. This is different from healthy motivation, which is based on curiosity, interest, and purpose. So when a person is motivated by insecurity and by feelings of inferiority, everything is driven by an internal critic that says, "You are never good enough. If you relax, you lose. If you are not perfect, you are worthless." And even when the person accomplishes something very important, satisfaction doesn't arrive, because this motivation doesn't want to reach the top. It just wants to escape the bottom of the pit. That is all. The sixth sign is when you rest, sleep, take time off, and yet you remain tired. This sensation of mental fog or slowness is scientifically known as psychomotor retardation, something very common in depression. The person feels like they're always kind of disconnected, like their head is running on low voltage, you know? And it doesn't matter how much they sleep, the tiredness doesn't go away. This symptom is so common that many people confuse it with ADHD because attention becomes impaired. Memory starts failing, and focus disappears. But unlike ADHD, the problem here isn't lack of stimulation. It is genuine lack of energy. The person's battery is almost at zero, and the brain is trying to conserve resources as if it is in survival mode. It is like living inside a fog, but nobody on the outside sees it. Only you perceive it. Only you feel it weighing you down constantly. The seventh sign is losing the sense of meaning in everything that used to give you pleasure. And here we return to the issue of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, because activities that were previously relaxing or fun, like reading, cooking, playing games, walking, listening to music, now they seem pointless, useless. So the person trades their hobbies for work, for studying, for gym routines, for practical tasks and responsibilities. Because if the reward system is turned off, then having fun becomes almost impossible. And when nothing provides pleasure, life becomes functional, mechanical. There is no space left for lightness. This loss of interest in things the person used to enjoy is one of the most consistent markers of depression, and the person doesn't even notice when it starts happening. They just gradually let things go without understanding why. Simple as that. Finally, there is the attitude of underestimating dangerous things. This is one of the most silent and most serious signs. The person starts making risky decisions, like quitting their job without plans, investing a lot of money in something uncertain, entering chaotic relationships, making impulsive decisions. But it is not because they're excited, it is because they feel they have little to lose. When life loses the colors it once had, risk becomes the only place where it is possible to feel something, anything. It is in risky situations that a little adrenaline appears, or even just a sensation of still existing. And this isn't a search for adventure. It is a search to feel something, to feel anything at all, to escape emotional anesthesia. That is why depression can lead to a form of existential indifference, to a state where the consequences of decisions seem distant, seem unreal, almost irrelevant. And this can put someone in dangerous situations, not from self-destructive intention, but from psychobiological misalignment. They're completely off their axis. And if you've made it this far and recognized yourself in any of these signs, it doesn't automatically mean you have depression, but it means you deserve attention, care, and above all, you deserve compassion. Depression isn't weakness. It is not lack of strength. It is not laziness. It is a profound misalignment between what you live on the outside and what you feel on the inside. And I want you to hear this. You don't have to carry everything alone. There are paths forward, treatments, professional support, self-care strategies, and most importantly, there is the real possibility of reconnecting with your emotions, even the small ones, even those that seem distant right now. And if some part of this resonated with you, take it as an invitation, not as a condemnation. An invitation to look at yourself with more gentleness, to seek help if you need it, to remember that your life matters, even when your brain tries to convince you otherwise. Stay safe, traveler. I'll see you on our next journey.